guys, welcome back. My name is Marsha and I'm the Black Thumb Gardener, and we are in my garden today planting tomatoes. And if you're looking to grow tomatoes in a small space garden like I am, stay tuned to see how I add 8 tomatoes to my garden. Now, I started these tomatoes from seed a few months ago, and if you've been following my seed starting timeline, I started these about week 6. If you're interested in learning how I started these tomatoes from seed, you can check out the video in the show notes. In my seed starting video, I talked about some of the issues I've had growing tomatoes, and one of the biggest issues was growing indeterminate tomatoes. Now, last year I switched to growing exclusively determinate tomatoes, and it was such a game changer for me. In the past, I grew a lot of indeterminate tomatoes because I wanted to try all of the varieties. I found that indeterminate tomatoes had really cool varieties to try, different colors, sizes, textures, just the whole gamut. And I wanted to experience it all. As many of you know, growing in a small garden has its challenges, and the biggest challenge is space. Now, over time, I really tried to narrow down the varieties I'm growing in my garden, and I'm really just trying to grow tomatoes either for fresh eating or for canning. And I don't really need a huge vining tomato for canning. I prefer to grow determinate tomatoes, and that way I can get a big harvest all at one time, and I can actually control the height that my tomatoes get to. Now, this doesn't mean I'm never going to grow indeterminate tomatoes. I don't think any gardener can say they're never going to do something. I just feel like I'm still interested in trying out an experiment, and I'm growing one variety of an indeterminate tomato this year. And on that note, let's go check out the varieties I am growing. The first tomato variety is Cherry Falls, just for some fresh eating. And then we're going with some Tasty Lee. This is new for me this year. Then we're going to go with an OG Sunrise Sauce. This tastes amazing in pasta sauce. Then we have another pasta sauce favorite, Plum Regale. And then we're going to go to the indeterminate variety that I'm growing this year, which is Posano. This is new from West Coast Seeds this year. And then we go with an OG favorite, the Manitoba tomato. This one should be an early one to fruit. Last but not least, Red Robin. So this is my entire tomato lineup for 2025. Now that I've shown you all of the varieties I'm growing this year, we're going to work on our first bed. Now I have 3 beds that I'm planting tomatoes in, and I'm also adding 2 containers to plant my small cherry tomatoes. And in this bed, we're going to start with Manitoba and Plum Regale. In the end, I actually add 3 tomatoes to this bed, so we'll see how that works this year. When we are planting tomatoes or transplanting them into the garden, number one, make sure that they are completely hardened off properly. The last thing you want to do is cause sunburn to your plants. The second thing that I do when I plant tomatoes in the garden is I use 2 things to amend the soil inside the hole. I use a worm casting. And the second thing I do is I use fertilizer, and I've been using this bag since last year. And this is a ProMix organic tomato, vegetable, and herb fertilizer. It's a 448, and it's perfect for these tomatoes. Now, in addition to adding worm castings and fertilizer before planting, these beds already have a really good potting mix, and I've already added compost to these beds. So these beds have been thoroughly amended before planting. Before you ask, I do not plant an egg underneath my tomatoes. Number one, eggs are expensive if you haven't seen the prices, and I prefer to eat them scrambled or boiled. But no, I do not plant eggs under my tomatoes. I've seen other gardeners on YouTube do this with success. For me, I've just had success amending the bed properly and planting some fertilizer and worm castings with my tomatoes, and that works out great for me. But do what works for you. This is my method for planting tomatoes, and I've been doing this for years, and it works really well for me. First off, I'm starting off with planting a pretty deep hole, and it's going to be deeper than you might expect. And the reason for this is that tomatoes can grow roots all along their stem wherever it touches the soil. Now, this is great, especially if you have leggy seedlings. Now, by planting them deep, we're encouraging a stronger root system, which helps the plant access more nutrients and water, making it more resilient. Now, once I'm good with the size hole that I have, I'm amending with worm castings, and I'm also adding a granular fertilizer to the bottom. Now, my second step when planting tomatoes is to remove the bottom leaves before planting. There are two reasons for this. First, I want to prevent any leaves from touching the ground, and this is going to avoid soil-borne diseases from hitting the plant. Secondly, I'm removing those lower leaves to help the plant focus its energy on root development and creating a stronger base. When I'm pushing the soil back around the plant, I make sure to eliminate any air pockets. Air pockets can dry out the roots and stunt growth, so pressing the soil down gently but firmly ensures good contact and a strong start. Last but not least, don't forget to label because tomato plants all look the same at this stage and you will forget which one you planted until it fruits. Now let's plant the other tomatoes. Finished planting the Posano and it's going to trellis up this trellis. It's going to go up this trellis and I'm going to tie it to this trellis for the season. So I'm excited about this new variety from West Coast Seeds, and I'll tell you where I planted the other things. I made a couple of changes. So in this bed, remember, I planted 2 tomato plants, Plum Regal and Cherry Falls. In this one, I planted Tastily and Sunrise Sauce. And then over here, I planted 3 tomatoes. So yeah, I made a little bit of an edit and I planted one in the middle. It's a bit of a risk, but again, they're all determinate tomatoes. So I have 2 Plum Regals in this bed. And then in this one, I have Manitoba. So Manitoba, Plum Regal, Plum Regal. And then brassica bed, just so you can see, it's looking really good. Then over here, I contemplated planting another tomato plant because I have a few more left, but I will not because I planted brassicas in this bed, and brassicas are not a companion plant with tomatoes. So wherever brassicas are, my tomatoes will not be. So I'll put something else in this bed. And then over here, I have brassicas as well, embedded with the garlic and onions. And I will also not put tomatoes in this bed. This tomato doesn't get, like, I feel like not enough sun for my tomatoes, so I'm not going to put them here anyways. If you're in Canada and you're looking for a retractable hose system, HoseLink does not ship to Canada, so you can use Gardenia. This is what I use in my garden, and I feel like it's equivalent to HoseLink. I love using this hose. And then I get all of the Gardenia attachments with it. And it's connected to the wall. It can move back and forth if I want to tuck it away. It's a great investment. Tomatoes love consistent watering, but inconsistent watering can lead to issues like blossom end rot and cracking. That's why it's really important that you water deeply and regularly. I personally prefer to water early in the morning, and then that way the leaves, if I do get water on them, have time to dry throughout the day. Ideally, a drip irrigation system is best to keep the soil moist without wetting the leaves. Now, I will be installing drip irrigation finally in my garden this year, so stay tuned for that video. Now at this point, I could add mulch to my garden, but instead of using traditional mulch, I personally like to plant smaller plants like lettuce around the base of my tomatoes. Remember, I have a small garden, so I'm trying to maximize as much space as possible. This living mulch will help to keep the soil cool and retain moisture as well. We're almost done watering, so I'm going to head into the garage to grab some stakes. Now, even though these are determinate tomatoes, they still need some support. Okay, here are the tomato cages. I'm not going to show you the whole garage because it's just a mess. But anyways, I have, I think about 6 tomatoes in the garden and only, I think about 4 cages. So I'm going to use what I have, and if I need to pick up more, I will, but I think if not, I can use some bamboo sticks as stakes. So we're gonna go with these 4 and then we'll figure out the rest. Supporting your tomatoes properly is important to keep them healthy and upright. For my indeterminate Posano tomato, I've planted it in the other bed across from me, but I'm using this arch trellis that you see beside me to stake the indeterminate tomato to that because it is a vining variety, and I think that this trellis will be perfect for that. Now for my determinate varieties, I'm using traditional tomato cages. These cages are perfect for determinate plants because they have a more compact growth habit and only need support for a limited time. The cage keeps the branches from sprawling out and touching the soil, which also helps to prevent disease. But on that note, when it comes to pruning determinate varieties, I usually don't need to since they produce in one big flush, but I do prune the bottom leaves to increase airflow and prevent diseases. This helps to keep the plants healthy and strong throughout the season. So I have 2 of the green cages here, and I think these ones will work out well. And then over here I have a smaller green cage. This is a cherry tomato, so it should be okay. And then I have the bigger cage for this other tomato. They're all determinate, so I think this should be fine. Whenever I'm planting tomatoes in my beds, I always add some companion plants right away. And the 2 companion plants I will always add to my bed where I have tomatoes are basil, and the second plant is going to be marigolds. Now, basil is fantastic for repelling pests like aphids, and they can even enhance the flavor of your tomatoes. I also like to plant marigolds near my tomatoes because they are known for deterring root knot nematodes and other harmful insects. Now, in the beds that I have my tomatoes planted, I also have carrots, onions, and even lettuce, parsley, thyme, which also helps to shade the soil and keep it cool. If you're enjoying these tips and want to see more gardening videos, make sure to like and subscribe. I've got lots of exciting projects coming up, including drip irrigation for these tomatoes and my summer containers. Guys, I have to tell you, I cannot wait until I see the blooms of this marigold plant. These marigolds are called Strawberry Blonde. The seeds I got were from West Coast Seeds. The color is just everything. I cannot wait to see the blooms. I think this is going to be my favorite marigold of all. This tray also includes some petunias I've started from seed, and they will be going into my side window containers, and you'll see that in my summer container planting video coming up soon.
I think we're almost done here adding some of the marigolds to all of the beds. I'm really excited to see how all of this turns out and the harvest that I'm going to get at the end. I hope you continue to watch and keep updated with all the videos coming out. There's a lot happening in the garden every week, and I'll be keeping you updated as the season goes on, so be sure to subscribe if you want to follow along. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.